Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So this video, let's do the answer portion of the Q&A, and thank you for all your questions. And then I think I will have enough for one personal video and then one game-related video. And yeah, I recently got 1,000 subscribers. Thank you again to everyone. So I thought this would be a good time to sort of reintroduce myself. All right, let's head over to the questions. Number one is from Wasabi Ninjas. Thank you for all your support over the years now, I guess it is. And then their question is, do you plan on getting a green screen? I'm thinking not, but I'll give it a try. And if it looks great, I will use it. If it looks gimmicky, maybe I'll stay away. But yeah, thanks for the idea. I will give that a try. Okay, Tiffany Okamoto asks, how much do you like Napoleon? Pretty great. I had her in the English version of the game, and then I used her to finish my max luck of Tsukuyomi. So there are some memories there. But when the Transcendent form comes, which I feel is soon, I feel like it's the last anime character without a Transcendent form. She will be really good, so I'm looking forward to that. And then the next question, who is the best Fate Stay Night girl? That would be Rin Tosaka. I'm sorry, I also really like Saber, but Saber would be cool like as a sister. Rin Tosaka I would want to date, so sorry about that. Okay, and then a few people asked about my job, and I guess I can go ahead and tell you about that. I teach in Japan. I am an English teacher, and I have been kind of on and off over the years for maybe 10 years now, which is much longer than most people do when they teach English. It's fairly easy to get work here as an English teacher. Just because they need so many people and there's a lot of turnover. But most people stay for maybe just 2 or 3 years. But I really enjoy the work. I knew I wanted to be a teacher since high school. I had a really great English teacher, and she inspired me to want to become a teacher. And then I love to learn, and so my love of teaching kind of grows out of that as well. It's really interesting to watch people, kind of get their heads around like a certain thing and then, come to the realization of how something works. And then, yeah, I love language as well. The English language is very kind of like a Frankenstein monster of a language, but it is fun and it can be elegant. And then the Japanese language is fun for me to study. I am half Japanese, but I did not learn Japanese growing up. That was just the way that my household worked. So after I came to Japan for work, I started studying then. And yeah, really interesting. And then learning the language kind of made me feel more Japanese as well. Helped me kind of connect better to my extended family and then just random people as well. So that was really good for me. And then actually there was another job that I did. Well, I worked in Japan for a while, and then I realized that I had never lived in the States. I'm from America, California. I had never lived in the States as an adult. All of my life there, I had been a student. I had never worked there as a person, as a grown-up. So I tried that, and then I was in the fashion industry for a little bit. Which was also fun, but I missed teaching and I missed Japan. So after a few years of that, then I gave it up and I came back to Japan. And yeah, but the last job was very useful because I learned some things about fashion and style, which I'm still hanging on to now. I'm enjoying the teaching now, so that's what I'm doing. Okay, Rachel has a few questions. Answer the one about the job. What's my favorite thing to do when I go out? I like to go to bars and I like to drink, but I like Japanese bars. I don't like American bars. My image of American bars is like a big, just giant place, just full of people just standing around like cows at a trough. But a Japanese bar is very small and it's very dark and it's very quiet. And then you can sit in there with your drink. I like bourbon. And you can sit there, you can talk to the bartender, or you don't have to. It's either way. And yeah, just a good time to relax and think and unwind. And that's one thing I like to do, mostly at night. During the day, I like to go hiking. And being in Japan is pretty great for that. There's nothing but mountains here, so lots of good hiking. And I used to like photography. I have a nice film camera and I have a nice digital, but it's been a while since I've done either, so I kind of feel like I have to get back into that. And then while we're here, I might as well show you my cameras. So this is my digital. This is a Pentax, the K01. And this is a mirrorless camera. So that means there's no like chunk sound when you take a photo, but it's very high quality. And then it's okay. I bought it more kind of as an experiment, and because it was on super sale. The color and then the form factor was not very popular, so they put it on sale pretty quick, and I got a very good price for it. But the thing about the mirrorless camera is that it doesn't have that little window that you look into. This one just has that big screen in the back, which is fine. But I don't know, for some reason I like putting the camera on my face. I feel like I have better control over the framing and the focus and everything. And then recently, Pentax came out with a digital camera which is full frame. And old digital cameras, including this one, they can look through like old film lenses, but they can only get like, you know, a fraction of the full picture. The full frame digital camera can get the full image from the lens, but it costs like $2,000. So I'm like, I can save my pennies and I can buy that. Or I can stick to this, and I'll probably stick to this. And then this lens is cool. This is a zoom lens, so it has like different focal lengths. And then the one that's the widest is 17. That is a fisheye. So that makes everything like look very round and kind of, you know, like wavy and stuff. So it's a fun one. It's good for landscapes. So yeah, that's my digital camera and one of my lenses. And then this is my film camera, also a Pentax. They can use the same lenses that I can take on and off. And this is an MX, which is probably the nicest fully manual camera that Pentax has ever made for film. So everything is up to me, like how I focus it, the size of the aperture inside the lens, the speed of the shot, all that stuff. It does have a couple nice things about it, like a timer, so I can, you know, set it and run into the picture. And then I think there's some remote control stuff, but I've never used that. And this camera is from like the 80s, early 80s, late 70s, so it's very vintage, but still very sturdy. And yeah, I do enjoy using that. I'll just show you how that sounds. Yep, that's pretty good. Alright, and then there's one lens that I want to show you. This is a 50 millimeter, and that's kind of like, you know, the standard, like average focal length. It kind of mimics what the eye sees when it's just looking at stuff. But the size of the glass is very large, as you can see. Yeah, that's pretty great. And then it's a 1.2 aperture, which is maybe the largest that I've ever seen. But what that means is that the glass is so large that it can take in a lot of light. And so it can work well in the dark. And then also, it can create really nice bokeh in pictures. And what that is that when you see like kind of like professional like portraits or something, you see like a photo of somebody, and then like their face is in focus, but everything behind them is kind of blurry, kind of has like a dreamy effect. This lens is very, very good at that, so this is one of my favorites. And actually a quick story about this. On internet auctions or whatever, this thing goes for like maybe $700, $800, but I found it for $50 in a used camera store here in Japan. There are great used camera stores here in Japan. But it had like a little sign on it that said there was moisture inside. So I looked inside, and sure enough there was some beads of moisture, which gets in the way of the picture that you take. But I bought it anyway because it was such a rare lens and it was such a good price. I took it with me to on a trip to Hokkaido, and I stayed in a hotel there. And then inside the hotel, it was like super. They had the heaters on, and so it was super dry inside. It dried out this lens, so now it's in like mint condition, and I saved what, $750? So that's pretty great. Okay, sorry for that long segue. Next up, Rachel asks, how long on average do you play Monster Strike in a day when I do not have work? That depends what is going on that day in the game. At the very least, I'll play most of the free missions, just because, you know, it'd be a waste not to. And then I'll play all of the quests in the library, so I get 7 plays there. If there is a max luck that I'm working on, I'll play that. I usually don't play for the full 2 or 3 hours. I get tired of it maybe halfway through. Or if there's some kind of special event going on, like we had the Dream Charl thing recently, I'll play that for maybe 2 hours a day. So I don't know, 6, I guess, 6 hours a day on a day off. But of course, if I'm meeting friends or I'm going hiking or something, then that takes precedence. I haven't gotten to the point where I will like cancel plans with friends so I can play Monster Strike because there is an event coming up. So yeah, I think I'm still playing it in a healthy sense. Okay, Mayoko the Slayer asks, do you expect the JP version of Monster Strike to close in the next few years like the English version as well? This is a very good question, and yeah, I'm sure it's one that most people are interested in. Because we learned, of course, with the English version, what it's like to invest a lot of time and money into a game, and then to have it just be turned off. It was very sad. But it was kind of going in that direction anyway, because the English version was kind of mishandled in a bunch of ways. I think it was sort of inevitable because I guess the way that the game made money, and then also the way the game, you know, handed out rewards or whatever, didn't really match with people outside of Japan. The way the game is set up just matches perfectly with Japanese people and their psyche and their gambling addiction. So that's why it's so successful here. I knew it couldn't last in the English version, so oh well. As for the Japanese version, it's very healthy right now. It's got a ton of players, it's making a ton of money. It's making so much money that it can give out like millions of dollars in prizes every year. And the way that like the balance of the meta has been very good. Very steady, and nothing's gotten really out of hand, I feel. Lucifer came out and was great for lots of quests. Slowly the game moved away from her. And then Gabrielle came out, and then she was great for lots of quests, but slowly the game moved away from her as well. And then right now we are looking at Pandora, and however the game has sort of entered like a new paradigm where the super high-level missions, like the Impossibles and then the Colossals, they are so specific in what they need that there's no one character that can, you know, make quick work of all of them. You need Pierce in some, you need Bounce in some, you need Minesweeper, you know, and no monster is able to go to all quests. So I feel like balance-wise, it's very, very good. And it's impossible to say the future, you know, but I'm thinking at least a couple more years. And then as for my investment in the game, I feel pretty comfortable putting money into it and time, just because I do feel like the game is healthy. And then a good way to think about how the money you spend in the game is kind of treated, I think it would be healthy as players to think of the money that you spend as like a subscription. Rather than buying something and owning it, a subscription is just like access to the game while you are still, or while the game is still active. So then, even if the game ended, you know, it would be like the termination of the contract and just no more access to the game. And I had that kind of viewpoint even during the English version. So when the English version ended, I was okay with it. I was unhappy, of course, but, you know, I was like, okay, nothing I can do about it. My subscription is over. I'll begin a new subscription to the Japanese version. So that's how that worked for me. Okay, Trickster Zerog asks, who's your favorite Final Fantasy Brave Exvius character? If you're asking about which character I like that's kind of specific to that game, that's a good one. I don't love any of the main characters except for Lid. Lid is awesome. I want every version of her. I want to make the Trust master of all of her. But I also really like Ayaka. She is very powerful, of course. But I like her animations, and then I like her uniform. She wears that white mage uniform from Final Fantasy I. So she's pretty great for that. Okay, Barracuda, one of my long-time subscribers, hey man, he asks, let's see, what region of Japan do you live in? I'm not going to say exactly, but I'll just say that I live near Mount Fuji. And I live near enough that I can look out my window and see it every day if I like. And yeah, I do like it here. Before I have lived in Hokkaido, that's that northern snowy island. That was fun, but it gets old having snow on the ground for half the year. And then I lived in Yokohama for a bit. I have some family there, I have lots of friends there. I would like to go back there someday, but for now I have a pretty good job in my area near Mount Fuji, so that's what I'm doing now. Also, very sorry about the Dodgers. My brother is a big San Francisco Giants fan, and so he hates the Dodgers. But I do like the Dodgers. I was around when Hideo Nomo came to LA, and there was a big fuss about him. And then I also really like Yu Darvish. When I lived in Hokkaido, he was on the Nippon Ham Fighters. That's that Hokkaido team up there. So he was very cool. And actually, I've met Yu Darvish. Back when I was working in my fashion job in California, I met him on the job. He was a fan of the label that I was working for. So I got to talk to him. He's very tall. He's very quiet, but he definitely has an aura about him. He's pretty cool. Okay, Andy L. asks, what are your thoughts on the working culture and the image foreigners have on Japanese working culture? The working culture in Japan is very unique. It very much emphasizes teamwork and cooperation, and does not really kind of support, doing your own thing or being an individual. This is working like in a company or like in a school or some kind of government office. Because when you are working for such an entity, you represent that entity. And so anything that you do that is bad or against the rules reflects poorly on the entity that you're working for. For a lot of foreigners, this is difficult to do because, overseas, individuality is more emphasized and praised. Not so much here. I do like to dress up. I do like fashion. I sometimes get in trouble for what I wear, but yeah, whatever. I'm not going to get fired for it, so. If you can learn the language pretty well, and if you can find out how to fit in with that culture that really embraces the teamwork and the cooperation and all that, you can go fairly far in this country. Again, it depends on the work that you do. If you work in a capacity where your foreignness is very like central to, like you're like a model or something, then it doesn't matter how you act. But if you're trying to work like a job that like is for like Japanese people, then you kind of have to think and act and speak like a Japanese person. Okay, Krishnil Prasad asks, what do you do other than play Monster Strike? Like as I said before, I like to go hiking. I also like cooking. I have a few Japanese recipes that I'm good at. I have a few, I guess, Western recipes that I'm good at. And I did recently move to Japan, and the timing of it was sad in one sense, because back in the States, I had a nice big oven in the kitchen, and I just perfected my ribs recipe with the rub and the sauce and the oven and everything. So I perfected it, and now I'm in Japan. Nobody has a big oven, and then ribs are hard to find as well, so oh well. Maybe if I take a trip back there, I'll make ribs again. Okay, a few people asked, why do I call myself Cabbage? The reason for that is because when I started the English version, I was doing the reset marathon at the beginning of the game, where I install, delete, and reinstall the game until I pulled a good character out of the starting hatcher. And then what I was doing is that every time I started a new game, I named myself after another like food. Just because it was like short and easy to find new ones. And then finally I pulled a good character on Cabbage, and the character that I pulled was Mundus, who was great before and is great now with his transcendent form. So really it was just luck that I came up with Cabbage. But actually it's fairly common for JP YouTubers to pick kind of similar nicknames. There's a Bacon, there's a Sofa. Yeah, people just name themselves after inanimate objects all the time. Okay, Rusuriko asks, what is your favorite game of all time? That's tough. I really like the Final Fantasy games. I've played most 1 through 15, and a lot of the spin-offs. The 3 Final Fantasies that I consider perfect are 1, 4, and 12. Those are the best in my opinion. But I really love 6, I really love 9, I really like 10-2. 10-2 is an interesting one because everything about it is horrible. The music, the graphics, the story, the characters. But the job system, I feel like, is the best job system of any Final Fantasy. So if you had a PlayStation 2 just lying around, you might want to give Final Fantasy X-2 a chance. And really focus on the job system, because it is good. Besides Final Fantasy, I really like River City Ransom. That's definitely one of the best games of all time. Okay, Lemon Tree asks, what is your favorite fruit? Will you be angry with me if I don't say lemons? But actually it's apples. I really like apples, especially Red Delicious from Washington. And those are really hard to get in Japan too, so I miss those. Yep. Okay, Matt Lim asks, what are my goals for Monster Strike and my channel? For Monster Strike, I want to make max lux of everything. That's my favorite thing to do. For my channel, I don't really have any goals. I just want to keep doing it for as long as it's fun. I don't want to monetize it, and I don't really want to, advertise it, which is why I'm so shocked that it got to 1,000 subscribers. I just want it to be fun. I want it to be a hobby. Once it starts feeling like work, then I'm going to want to not be doing it. Okay, and finally, Logan Sanders asks, what are some of your favorite foods and drinks? I guess in Japan, foods? Gosh, I like everything here. One really nice thing about Japanese food is that there's a lot of variety. Most of it is a little bit, I don't think bland is the right word, but like it's not overpowering in taste or in like texture or anything. It's not like Mexican food or Indian food. It's very mild or subtle, I guess would be better words for it. And then also there's so many varieties of it that you can't really get tired of Japanese food. That's me speaking as a Japanese person, but I do feel it is true. But they have they have great soups, nice noodles, like fried stuff, rice-based stuff. And then they have their own takes on like Western foods like steak and spaghetti and all these other things. So yeah, you can't go wrong. Just go to a nice restaurant and they'll have something good. I can guarantee that. As for drinks, I really like, I prefer Japanese beer to a lot of American beer, especially compared to like Budweiser and stuff. That might not be fair. There are nice microbreweries in America. But Japanese beer is more kind of focused on the malt rather than the hops. I'm not a big fan of the hops. I don't like IPA. I like kind of a sweeter or like a richer beer with the malt. I also like Belgian beer. We're getting off topic now, but I like Belgian beer. Also very malty, and then yeah, kind of rich and high alcohol content. So yeah, those are the foods and drinks that I like. But yeah, I think that will do it for the Q&A. I didn't answer all of the questions. Maybe I'll go back and I'll answer them in the comments. But thank you for all of those, and I hope that was somewhat interesting. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell. And yeah, nice to meet you, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.